Hi, I'm Love McCall, and we're here today to talk about the first annual George Floyd Memorial Concert. The founders, Selwyn Jones, uncle of George Floyd, Stephen Davis, and myself united together to create the nonprofit A Soulful Heart Memorializing George Floyd. None of us would be here today if George would not have been the sacrificed soul to help change the world for all mankind. If anyone knows Selwyn, they know that he will always say, I love you, my family, and especially my mama. 929 seconds is why we have a soulful heart here today. Now I'm going to pass this over to Selwyn Jones and let you hear the infamous uncle of George Floyd.
Hi, I'm Selwyn Jones, Uncle Selwyn, as we know me as now. We created a soulful heart to help make a difference in people's lives because with the experience we had with my nephew, it was a total tragedy. And we've taken a tragedy and turned it into a positive because of our advocating and because of people around me, Nana Bryan, Love McCall, Stephen Davis. We have created a beautiful situation so we can all get together and rejoice and have a wonderful time and remember George Floyd's life and his legacy and make a new legacy for others in this world.
I'm Nana Bryan. I'm a treasurer of A Soulful Heart, and I'm very proud of the mission that our organization is moving forward with. It's to facilitate the strengthening of relationships between people from all racial communities, and with the goal of promoting understanding that will bring about true change on the issues of racial equality and social justice. We know that we need to have a diverse organization to reach out to a diverse population in order to move forward so that we can have greater social justice awareness and also accountability for some of the things that have been going on. Our vision is to be the global resource for the development of skills, resources, and accessibility to services in order to peacefully address personal and societal crisis situations. In that regard, our organization goes into communities where there have been crisis situations to support them, and also to try and bring those communities together so that we can have something good come from so many tragedies, such as George Floyd and so many recent situations that we're seeing across the country. I'd like to introduce Elizabeth Reed, our executive director of A Soulful Heart. Liz?
This journey for me is almost like me being able to go in my later years and feel like I've accomplished something. And by working with A Soulful Heart, I feel like my dream is coming true. I have been working with nonprofits for the last 20 years. And my organization I've been with, it's been for culturally specific services. And so I know the targeting that's sometimes done on people of color. Recently, and I think it's real important that I mention this today, because yesterday they announced that Minneapolis has violated our human rights. And they have a document to say what they've done, how they've done it, and they've always targeted us. And I think that this is a big breakthrough for them to acknowledge that we have been the target of many of the things that they have done. And this was all focused because of George's death. So he still has a lasting impression on everything that's going on in Minnesota, especially Minnesota, because I think because this event happened here, we are more dedicated to make this right. And so I am just honored to be the executive director. And we have a lot of things going that, believe me, I've gotten so many calls of how we can support and how other people are going to support us. And so I think that as we go forward, we are going to have such a big impact throughout the United States. And the last thing I want to say is the biggest abuse of power is to use it against someone. Thank you.
Wonderfully said, Liz. Wonderfully said.
Well, I'm AB, and I'm in the music. I have over 25 platinum albums and 1 Grammy. I was truly blessed to work with the legendary Miles Davis, and I am the music part to bring to Soulful Heart. And I'm just so honored and feel pleasure to be a part of Soulful Heart and to be able to bring the music part to the group and bring the soulful music. I'm truly blessed, and I'm glad to be a part of what y'all doing.
Please come and join us. First annual George Floyd Memorial Concert in New York City. Come see us all. It'll be fun. It'll be a blast. And it's something that we need to make a difference. So we'll see you there. Thank you.
Miss Love McCall, can you tell us, and you all coming together with this organization, what is the heart, the real heart and passion, and what are you looking to accomplish?
One of our central focuses is to pass the George Floyd Act, and to put it in a nutshell, to stop killing our people, to bring the community together, bring the world together as a whole, and be a positive influence for our youth. And I feel like at some point we need to go back to the olden days of respect. There is no more respect anymore. And I always say this four-letter word: if we just exhibit kindness in everything that we do in life, and give and promote and strengthen our people as a whole, individually, as a family, as a group, we can start to change the world. But we have to unite, stop the violence, and most importantly, build ourselves mentally, emotionally, and physically, because there's a lot of abuse in the world, whether it's in the homes, in the schools, or even in the streets.
Can I jump in on this?
Absolutely.
It's all about making a difference. It is all about making a difference. I sat and I saw one of my favorite people get tortured as a human being in a place that I call home. We need to make a difference in people's lives. I want to express communication, conversation, education, and motivation, because Miss McCall is right. The youth is our future. And in order for us to move ahead, we must start with our future, with our kids, to make a difference. Just simple. Got to make a difference, got to make a change. This is motivated by love, because I love my nephew. I love everybody. It's about all lives matter, because we all come here for a short period of time. Why not leave the world a better place than when we came in it? That's from Uncle Selwyn.
Yes, I have a question. Uncle Selwyn just touched upon it a little bit. What do you see as the biggest distinction between a Soulful Heart and other organizations that have been mobilized both before George Floyd's death and afterwards, particularly Black Lives Matter? What makes this organization different from other organizations?
Because George Floyd literally stopped the world on its axis for 3 days. People that were living under rocks know about systemic racism today. People that are living under rocks know that people of color get treated in the most hideous way. And before people's eyes, you know, there's two types of people that can't read and people that don't want to read. Well, the people that don't want to read got it put right in their face, and they saw it. My nephew's 9 minutes and 29 seconds brought everything and put it right in people's faces. So that's where we're different, because we actually have the whole world looking at us, knowing that we have an opportunity and a platform because of my nephew's death to make a difference in this world, and to make a change, a real change and a real difference, because everybody's eyes, hearts, and ears are open. And of course, you have Uncle Selwyn, because I'm not going to stop all day, 24/7, 365. I owe my nephew, my daughter, my sons, Love, Nan, Stephen, Elizabeth, I owe everybody the opportunity to live in a free and equal world. And hey, we got work to do, man. Got work to do.
I have a question for Mr. Davis. You're someone who has seen it from your generation to even the present time that we live in, right? What would you say would be the main problem we have during the time that you've seen the things that you've seen? Has there been, I should say, a drastic change? Do you see where there's great change, or do you see where it's still major work that needs to be done? And are you hopeful that things will be able to change? What is your outlook on this?
Well, first of all, I want to say that each generation from 1865 till now have progressed. It is not that the glass is all empty. where we are at today is because of our forefathers, because they got out and fought for us. They fought a war where they were still slaves and they got us out and they moved forward. So every generation have a forward momentum. The problem to me is that the difference between, say, when I grew up, because I was one of the first ones to integrate high schools in particularly North Carolina, in the town that I lived in. Although I wasn't from there, I happened to be there and we integrated the school. So we saw forward progress from that point, and we saw forward progress as Blacks and people of color begin taking their place in society in terms of business, in terms of it. But now, just like it happened in 1875, 1876, where Blacks were progressing, and then there was a backlash, and then they went backwards. Well, now we have made a lot of progress, but we're losing a lot of progress because the other side, who want to keep us down, have decided, well, hey, we need to restrict their voting rights. We need to restrict a whole lot of things because they're making too much progress, but we can't stop. That's the difference that I see. And I also see a difference in the mentality of some of our younger folks as opposed from before, because a lot of them think that they have made it. And no, we have not made it yet. We are far from where we've been at, but we have not come all the way to equality. Plain and simple.
How do you see it from the other side? Nan O'Brien.
For me, I think that there is such a large amount of ignorance on the reality of the situation that one of the goals that I see from a Soulful Heart, from my perspective, is the education piece. It's also why the book that I'm co-authoring with Selwyn, The Silent Civil War, how the murder of my nephew George exposed the hidden racism in America. I think when George was murdered, it was so heinous that people that didn't want to see it, that didn't have to deal with it, that benefited from white privilege, which absolutely you do. I mean, I think that there are a lot of people that don't understand the terminology. When I speak to other Caucasians and say, I have no problem admitting I have benefited from white privilege, sometimes people get it, but sometimes they're like, well, you haven't been privileged. You've had a tough life. I'm like, you're not hearing me. Everybody may have had a hard life, but I haven't had the additional challenge of my race. And so I have benefited from being white. There's no question about that. So I think that we have to speak to the language in a way where people that don't have any idea what people of color go through or suffer understand. And I think that that's a key component of this organization. And that's why being a diverse organization and, my being a part of that, speaking to that audience is going to make a difference because they need to hear it from somebody they'll listen to. And sometimes, and I hate to say it, but they won't listen because it doesn't touch their lives personally. I don't know how it couldn't. I've never understood it. I think there's a segment of people that are going to be very resistant, and we may not ever reach them. But I truly believe in my heart that part of our job is to make sure that they do, because you cannot, you don't identify the problem.
To Love and Stephen, the concert is a memorial concert. As Selwyn said, it's a bit of a celebration of the life of George Floyd. Are there any other activities that this organization is going to engage in, either in New York or elsewhere, to make this happen? Is New York a one-shot, or is it the beginning of something bigger?
It's part of actually what had happened was we had started a George Floyd family tour in Los Angeles that was very successful, but right in the middle of going to other places, such as Memphis. We were supposed to be in Memphis on January 14th through the 15th to celebrate Martin Luther King's birthday. COVID got in the middle of it. So on May the 21st, we start off with an Equality and Social Justice Summit, which will be held at Brown Memorial Church in Brooklyn. We visit a church and have a reception on Sunday. We visit the mayor. We visit schools on Mondays and on Tuesday. And then we culminate it with an event at Town Hall. We have a number of things, and then we move out to other cities. We've been invited in so many different places. Always keep in mind that the purpose of us coming together is the death of George Floyd, Selwyn Jones's nephew. And we do thank Town Hall so much for being a part of this celebration, and it will be a big celebration.
And I do have to add that I'm very excited that we have the youth involved in this annual event, because we do not want to just let it be a one-time event. We want to make this momentous and a legacy for George Floyd. His name will not just be a memory. It will be an everlasting, soulful name that will impact and change the world.
And remember, this is the first annual, which gives you indications of more to come.
I am Ted Lambert. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the Town Hall on West 43rd Street, a 100-year-old venue that has a long history of supporting equality, justice, and education. We're really thrilled to be involved in the event. Our history, pretty much from day one in 1921, it's been a place where people of all races have had a chance to speak and be heard, from Paul Robeson on. We think it's just in keeping with our tradition, and we're thrilled to be involved, as is my colleague Mele Araya, the artistic director of Town Hall.
And if anybody has any more questions or anything they want to say, Miss Elizabeth Reed, if you have anything else you want to say before we go.
One thing that I want to do, and it's all on behalf of A Soulful Heart, is to work with the nonprofits and to really give them support, both financially and also in staffing. Because one of the things that through these years I've seen is that the nonprofits that serve people of color doesn't get enough funds to support what we need to do. That's going to be my goal, is to really pull together a network of nonprofits so that we can go back to the state that funds us and say, take a look at the discrimination that you've made with organizations that are treating people of color versus other organizations. And so that's going to be my mission locally. And I think it's going to make a big difference if we start looking at it in a united way, because what happened to George was to wake us all up, because there's many systems that are against providing good services to people of color. And my mission is to try to change that scenario.
Elizabeth, you're in Minnesota and from Minnesota, correct?
I'm from Iowa, but I've been in Minnesota for 40 years.
Okay. From Minnesota.
What is your connection to George Floyd?
George Floyd went through our program. And so for 5 years, he was connected with Turning Point. The name of the organization was Turning Point, which is an African-American organization that provide culturally specific services. And so George went through our program. And I mean, he was a star. He was definitely a star. He came to every meeting. It was just so personal through his death to know that I interacted with this young man, and he was just a jewel, just a beautiful, beautiful person. He loved life. And so that's my connection with George. And I met his family. They came to Turning Point. We spent several days together. So it is a very personal thing for me. That's my knowledge of George.
Miss Reed, you met the special family member. As you were communicating with me, I felt a kinship that you had with my nephew, because you always wanted to touch my hand and say, you called me George a couple times, and you know, you are a beautiful soul. And I look forward in having you lead this charge because of your heart and your soul, and because of what you did feel for my nephew. And that's beautiful, sweetie.
Thank
This
you.
is the reason why this is going to work, because we have a lot of people that their hearts are open, and a lot of other organizations are being led by other things. And our heart is leading us to make changes, to make a difference.
On that note, after hearing all these beautiful words and illustrations coming straight from the heart. I'm going to ask you all to please join us at www.soulfulheart.org. Give, join, and come party with us on May 24th at 7:30.
I was just going to say, we have really lofty ambitions beyond the ones we've shared today. They're going to require a lot of funds. We need the help and we need the support. If we can have people support us, we can support the communities. And I think that that's where the circle comes together.
Yes, indeed.
Circle of change. Let's make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Well, everyone, looks like it's a wrap.